What's up, everybody? So this is Jason the Chiron here. Let's get straight into it. Basically, what we're going to be talking about today is basically how you're supposed to initially, how you're supposed to begin interpreting your birth natal chart. Okay, so when you're interpreting your birth natal chart, I know you see a whole bunch of stuff all over the place, and we all seen that. The circle, it got all the lines on it, right? And it's really just showing you all the different constellations, aka houses. It's showing you where your planets are within these houses once you once you generate your birth natal chart, right? Now that depending on the site you use, it could give you a limited amount of information. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be limited information because it's just one person's um, not so in-depth interpretation of your birth natal chart reading because it's giving you an understanding of this aspect of yourself, that aspect of yourself, that aspect of yourself. What I mean by like different, like those different aspects, we're talking about like your sun description. They usually tell you like which house it's in, what energy it's in, and the degree, minute, and second it's in, and then so on and so forth, which a lot of y'all ignore the degree, minutes, and seconds, which is what I bring to the table. I break that down. I utilize numerology for that, right? We all could do it. I'm doing very simple things, but the first thing you need to understand is how to look at your birth natal chart. So when you're looking at your birth natal chart, first you're gonna see a planet. You're gonna see the planet. You're gonna think, oh, that's the big deal. There's a bigger deal. There's the house. After you like once you look at the house is going to tell you basically the area of life that you will be conducting your planetary energy in accordance to whichever planet is in that house. Now, if you don't have a planet in one of your houses, it doesn't mean that there's an area of life that you just ignore, you don't tend to. You're still going to tend to it because we're all a part of this civilization and we're all a part of this world where, there's always dominoes falling and something's going to affect you to where you have to tend to a area of life. Like if it's a personal area of life, we're talking about the first house. We're talking about possessions you obtain and how you value those possessions. We're talking about the second house. If we're talking about the third house, we're talking about how one may communicate, or how one may tend to their surroundings, right? Or how they absorb the energy of their surroundings. We'll get in depth on these things. When it comes to the fourth house, we're talking about how one tends to their domestic issues, someone's ideal home, even. So, like, if you construct your home in accordance to that house, paying attention to the energy it's in, the planets are within that house, and also the starting degree, minute, and second of that house, then it helps you get like more so a blueprint on how you should initiate your journey in accordance to the information displayed within your specific house placement when we're talking about the fourth house. All right. We're going to get in depth on all of these things. So if you sit here like, what? Understand, I'm basically just breaking it down for you on bullet point, right? And then you got the fifth house. It's the house of awareness, entertainment, people will say. But to be very clear, this is how one displays their awareness, okay? Uh, we're going to get into all of it. Sixth house, house of routines, house of things that you need to continuously work on. And these are the things that are going to actually build you in some way, shape, or form, help you adapt to your reality, help you adapt yourself before you get into the real world, or certain things that you need to pick up on from the world, like personally, just to yourself. Because first through sixth house, we're talking about like these are the houses that have to do with you, right? We're talking about 7th through 12th house. We're talking about the houses and how you tend to things external to you. All right. Now, also, we're talking about the mutable energy in general. That's a whole nother story. Some of y'all may know what that is. If you don't worry about it. We're gonna get into all of that. But basically, you understand with the sixth house, these are your routines. This is how you attend things on a regular, just to keep some type of grounding. Plus, it correlates with the Virgo energy, which is mutable earth, adapting and relating to structure, stability, and practicality. Okay. So if you're dealing with that type of stuff, then you're talking about the sixth house. Virgo comes from the sixth house energy, which correlates with the feminine side of Mercury, right? So this is basically how you will nurture yourself in a sense. So now, and it also has to do with health, the sixth house. So certain routines to keep yourself healthy and things of that nature. You want to look to that if you want to do it on a universal accord. Now, when it comes to like, say we're dealing with certain illnesses and things of that nature, yeah, listen to your doctor or get into holistic stuff. You know, whatever you choose is whatever you read up on. You're gonna come across it in your life regardless because that's how the universe is constructed. This is a life that you've already experienced, but you're basically just scrolling back to the beginning and you press play from the time you was a baby, and now you're reliving this journey. Everything is predestined. You already got it down pat. Now that's not astrological, but I am a jack of many trades. But we're focusing on astrology, right? So I'm gonna try my best to keep it within this capsule of information when we're talking about the study of astrology. More so birth natal chart interpretation, but it helps you understand the planets a lot better when you align yourself with the energies or understand how you've been doing these things your whole life subconsciously. Because your ancestors, they've been in action, they're in action right now. You're just not aware of it, sexually speaking. But subconsciously, the consciousness that lies dormant, which is really proof that your life has already been, it's pre-existing, it's pre-existed already. Okay, you're just replaying the time. That was very important. I had to put that in there. So now let's talk about the seventh house. The seventh house is like one-on-one relationships, the house of relationship and connectivity, not just with a person, but with a place or a thing as well, even with a concept, right? So when you're dealing with that type of stuff, you know, this relationship, you have to get to know somebody, right? Like if I'm talking directly to you and I'm not talking to, you know, everybody, because it's an 11th house type thing. This video is going out to everybody, it's going to be open to everybody. Everybody's going to be able to have access to this information that is being recorded right now. But if I'm talking to you one on one, we're having a one on one like meeting call, then we're going to relay information amongst one another that only we would talk about because you're going to know certain information. I'm going to know certain information, or you won't know it. I'll inform you and it'll mean something to you, or it won't. And then that will start to break down the means of our relationship on what we start to relate upon relationship, right? Relationship, related. Boom, we're relating, right? One on one. So now, seventh house, that's one-on-one relationships, basically. Now, when it comes to the eighth house, we're talking about the house of deep intent and transformation. We're even talking about like that relationship with yourself. Sometimes we'll get in a relationship, we'll come to realize we don't have certain characteristics that are fit for a relationship in general or a relationship with this person. And then we have to go within and really have some type of retrospect about what's going on with us. Are we the ones that's bringing trauma to this relationship or bringing problems to this relationship? And then as we're able to focus in ourselves, that's actually what's going to bring us to the ninth house. So the ninth house, this has to do with the house of enlightenment, which you can't become enlightened of anything unless you're actually going out into the world or you're discussing viewpoints with people that are foreign to you or them. All right. So then you're going to become enlightened by the information that is relayed upon you for you to actually have some type of perceptivity toward that information. This is what the ninth house is all about. That's why it's the house of enlightenment. Ooh, I want to talk about numerology right now, but we're gonna slow it down because I said what I was gonna do. We're gonna keep with astrology. I'm gonna do my best. So now we're talking about the 10th house. This is the house of career and life path. People even say it's the house of business. If you look at it numerology wise, it's the best way to really get it across to you. Is the 10th house one with opportunity? If you're one with zero opportunity, then that means you're going to construct your life in accordance. You're going to utilize that opportunity in your right mind, right? But you also have to connect with something outside of yourself because the consumers can't just be you, or else you're just giving yourself your energy back or money back or power back, right? So you're not really making anything, right? All right. And if you try to say stocks or something like that, there's a separate deity outside of you that is actually like making this stuff possible. There are certain businesses and organizations and things like that that are making that stock even exist in the first place outside of anything you've ever invested into it in the first place. So just know 10 is the house of career and life path. So if it's the house of career and life path, then we have to ask ourselves, well, where do the consumers lie? That's the 11th house. That's the house of associations, humanitarianism. You can even say social networking, just networking in general, even. But most of us are very familiar with social networking, which is what we do on social platforms, media, things of that nature. This right here that you're looking at right now, this is a form of 11th house energy. I am relaying a message onto multiple individuals, one and one. I'm an individual relating to another set of individuals, and you all are one of these individuals, but you're all gaining this information, which is why this is in the seventh house situation going on right here. This is 11th house, right? One and one, right? It helps you become one with the other. One plus one is two. So you're able to possess valuables and value the information that's being relayed upon to you. And if somebody else was to hear about this information, both of y'all can go back and forth about what y'all learned about it or what you've already previously learned, added to this information, and now we're networking. 11th house. Now, when it comes to the 12th house, this is the house of self-consciousness. This is a house that, to put it in better terms for understanding, for you to compute this information, you're basically just taking how you feel and you're throwing it in the mix with a whole bunch of other people and how they feel. Which at the end of the day, we all have the same goal. We all want the same thing, which usually coincides with peace, which usually has to do with just being one and having an understanding. We don't like conflict. We don't even really like segregation like that. If you could get along with someone, it has to do with that y'all subconsciously on the same frequency, or at least y'all are vibrating the same. And y'all will always produce different energy, but that's why when it comes to the subconscious house, the 12th house, which is a water house, not an earth house, that's energy. Earth has to do with energy. When we're talking about vibration, they usually has to do with like air, like even your air particles, they vibrate. And that's even little bits and pieces of water. We are in water right now. It's just a thinner layer of water. We don't have much water going on outside of us, right? But guess what? You're 70% water. Now that's just a fun fact. That might have threw you off. I'm sorry, but I have a lot of information I want to relate. Now, when it comes to the subconscious house, like this is even the house of the unknown. That's why it's kind of hard for me to explain to y'all right here. Even like say when you have a dream, it's just aligning you with your purpose. It's aligning you with your journey. It's very, very so simple and difficult and complicated at the same time. That's why we're gonna be having multiple videos about this stuff. But like I said, I'm gonna break all that stuff down. And it's gonna be a lot easier to speak on it as an individual concept because I'm gonna go on a lot longer talking about the 12th house than I would about any of these other houses. Now, these are the houses. Now, we're talking about the planets. We're talking about now the sun, which is actually just the closest star to the earth, right? And this is why we call this a solar system, because without the sun, its solar energy, we would not have a light to show us what's going on here. Which brings me into more of a display of what's going on with the sun and the influence it carries. It carries the influence of awareness. And it also, when it comes to your birth natal chart, it has to do with your character, what others get to see off of you, right? Like, let's say if your son's in the first house, somebody might say you're a selfish person. If your son's in the second house, they might say you're materialistic. If your son's in the third house, they might say, "Oh, that's a great communicator. They love talking about it." When it comes to the fourth house, it's somebody who's serious about their home. They're serious about their family. They're serious about domestic issues. They're not even serious, because that would be more so sad. But they're more so aware of domestic issues and how to tend to them. When it comes to the fifth house, like sun in the fifth house, then we're talking about a sun's in its actual home placement, where basically just is gaining awareness. Like there's nothing you could put past this individual. They don't have to know a whole lot of stuff. They're based off common sense, the stuff that we all can see, we all understand. All right. Now that's the sun. It coincides with awareness, right? Period. This stuff is going to be very easy to explain to you. Now, moon, this is the influence, it gives off the influence of resonation, comfortability, and domestication. Okay. Now, when it comes to the houses, when I was talking about the fourth house, it has to do with domestic issues and things of that nature. But when you're dealing with the moon, this is the power that you have to deflect domestic issues. This is the power that you have to resonate with another, or resonate with yourself even. When it comes to the moon, you're able to basically build comfortability, like I said, before a domestic issue pops out, or you know where to place yourself in accordance to that energy. Like if your moon is in Aries, then you're more comfortable with being more assertive. You're more comfortable with people being assertive towards you. Matter of fact, you might not even really consider somebody like home like domestic if you can't even go at it with them every once in a while. Just be like, hey bro, you stupid, you don't know what you're talking about. And then y'all create kind of like a competitive energy when it comes about like really learning things even, or sports or things of that nature. Like those type of things would be comfortable for you if you had an Aries moon, right? Now, I know I haven't broken down zodiac signs yet. We're gonna get into it. So brief, these are brief. Now, when it comes to Mercury, this is thinking, communicating, and processing. Now, when it comes to communicating, that's the external version of Mercury. When it comes to processing information or thinking about information, then this is the internal process of Mercury. And if you don't think before you speak, then your words most likely will have no type of value, which brings us to Venus. Venus is the planet of value and appreciation, they'll say, even possessions, and how you value these type of possessions or whatever possessions. Let's say I put a pencil in front of you. If you're a writer, you'll value it a lot more than somebody who types on their computer all day. But at the end of the day, let's say that computer, the person who's always on the computer, if their internet goes down or their laptop doesn't work, they're going to resort to utilizing a pencil and paper, which is going to bring value to that pencil at that moment in that circumstance, right? So a lot of this stuff is circumstance based. You realize that with everything, and the circumstance at hand usually has to do with the house that the energy or the planet is in. Okay, the energy, I'm referring to the zodiac sign energies, right? Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, etc. Now, when we talk about Mars, we're talking about drive and intent. So when it comes to your drive and intent, basically we're talking about based like the actions, like what will provoke somebody to take action? What will you take action on? For example, my Mars is in Virgo. I'll explain Virgo to you real quick and explain it to you again later in the video. Get this point across. So Virgo is mutable earth. Mutable is a modality. There are three modalities and there are four elements. We're gonna get into that. But the modality, the mutable modality, is about adapting and relating. We're taking earth, that element that has to do with structure, stability, and practicality. So if we're talking about adapting or relating to structure, stability, or practicality, basically manipulating your surroundings or your grounding to be best fit for most scenarios, if not all scenarios, or whatever you're dealing with at the time. We're talking about, we're basically talking, basically, I basically just explained it cool. So if we're taking Mars and we're adding Virgo energy to it, we're talking about someone's driving intent to adapt and relate to structure, stability, and practicality. So me, I really love to, for example, I like the idea of eating vegan. I like the idea of eating even pescatarian, but it's not like even with pescatarian, I'm not going to think about the amounts of mercury that could potentially be in seafood, right? I'm going to take that into consideration. I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to adapt to that fact. I'm going to adapt to that reality, to that earth type situation, right? And I'm going to be like, all right, so I could probably eat like 30% pescatarian, 70% vegan, and I'll be fine. And then let's say I have a certain deficiency or something of that nature, then I'm going to have the driving intent to actually tend to that because it has to do with health, it has to do with Virgo energy. So my driving intent is basically to live a healthier lifestyle in a sense, to live, to construct my grounding how I need it to be, tended to, so I don't have to spend too much awareness on it. I don't have to resonate with nothing like that. Besides the fact that I have a Taurus moon, so it being an earth element, Virgo being an earth element, they're gonna form a trine, a gift toward one another. I have a lot to teach you. You feel me? Now, when we're talking about, I hope y'all understood the driving intent with Mars, because that's what it's about. That's the influence it gives. Now, if we're talking about Jupiter, we're talking about wisdom and expansion. That's the influence it gives. When you gain wisdom, that's internal. It's going to affect you internally. Now, how you expand or expound on situations at hand and how you tend to them, how you, like, let's say, for example, say you have a business, right? Say you have a cooking business. You're like, okay, I wanna form a cookie business. What do I need for this business? How do I expand my business? Well, first and foremost, you're gonna need to know what you're gonna cook. You need to know how to cook these things. You need to know how much it's gonna cost for all these ingredients. You're gonna need to know how much of this and that ingredient you're gonna portion off that costs this amount and how much money you're putting out with those fractions of whatever that food is, that ingredient, right? And then you're going to be able to form a price sheet, right? You're going to have to go and gain the wisdom of what price is this place, what price is this place, what price is this place, what price is that place. And then we could even say, because I basically just explained how Jupiter works to you, just in an example, it's also going to coexist. This is an important point. Pay attention. This is also going to, like, that energy coexists with my Mars energy, my Mars and Virgo, where I'm going to be like, okay, what's the best option? How can I continuously adapt? How can I make things better? And I'm going to end up being like, okay, I have a price sheet figured out. Now I'm going to utilize my Mars energy to support my Jupiter energy, taking my driving intent, Mars, with my sense of wisdom and expansion, Jupiter, to be like, you know what? I eat pescatarian. I eat vegan. I want everybody else to eat vegan and pescatarian too. Let me see how I could make this work. And also, it needs to be healthy sources. I need unprocessed foods, right? So I'm gonna just dive deeply into that type of information. Next thing you know, I have a price sheet that probably gained a little bit of interest when we're talking about money. Like it has more, might require a little bit more money to have healthier sources. Also, um, when it comes to certain businesses, they're gonna cost more. They might not have met their quota or whatever. That's not my concern personally, unless I was to like go into that and be like, okay, I'm gonna wait for this specific time to do this, that, and the third. So it's not that much of a gamble. But at the same time, it's like this is, Jupiter and the rest of your planets, you have to understand they all coexist, they all play out simultaneously. That's why when anybody just told you, oh, you're just your sun sign, or you're just a Aries or whatever, understand they don't know astrology. I say that a lot. I love to say that people don't know astrology because you really need to debunk everything you ever heard about astrology and come to this source or go to Dolo the Pilot Man. Now, Dolo, he doesn't touch on astrology that much anymore. He has a whole lot of old videos, but me, I'm going to be making a whole lot of videos based off of the things that he's taught and based off of multiple other astrologers who just haven't really shined as bright to me as Dolo has. So, go check him out. Dolo the Pilot Man, Flight Boss. You search up either one of those on YouTube, you're gonna find it. Now, let's say we're talking about Saturn. When we're talking about Saturn, we're talking about structure and limitations, right? So the limitations that you put on certain things is gonna help you gain structure, right? Let's say, for example, I was organizing my house today, and I was like, okay, I'm trying to clean this, I'm trying to clean that, I'm trying to organize this, I'm trying to fix this up. I'm not trying to have a whole bunch of crap in the background. You already looking at. I don't want y'all to see the tears in this chair right here. So how I angled everything, it was a lot of stuff I had to tend to, but I had to organize. This is what Saturn does a lot. It organizes, it disciplines. That's the influence it gives off. Structure, limitation, same thing. So I was like, what's the best way I can do this? I was like, all right, so first I need to clean up my office. So I cleaned up my office. I had clothes in there that I still need to fold, but I was like, okay, let me not be like All right, don't let me just go over here, do a little bit of this, come over here, do a lot of that. It wouldn't be as conducive to what I'm trying to do. It wouldn't benefit me as much. And then say this video right now. I had to get my mind prepared because I didn't write it out. So if I just went over there and started folding clothes, this video would probably be horrible, right? Now the quality is horrible. I understand. You see the picture. It looks like I got a burnt neck or something. And then also I bet y'all like, all over the place. I don't know. I'm a huge skeptic of self because my Mars is in Virgo. See, I bet it would feel a lot comfortable in life if you was able to say stuff like that. Now, like I was saying, with Saturn structure limitations, I had to organize my approach to handling all this stuff. Now, when you was a little kid, you didn't care about none of this stuff. Before you got a job, you didn't care about bills. Before you were ever into sports or whatever, you probably didn't know how important practice was unless you had a parent that was like, okay, you need to do this before you can do that, or else you're going to be poor at it, or you're going to suck, or you're not going to make the team. Things of that nature. It's prepar. Excuse me. It's preparation. You must be prepared. Saturn helps out with that a lot, as well as Virgo and stuff. They coexist because there's Capricorn that's ruled by Saturn, and then when it comes to Virgo, it's ruled by Mercury, but they're both Earth. So understand when we get to talking about the elements, there are going to be a lot of things that like are similar, but they play their own role. They play their own individual role. Now let's get into the subconscious planets. Now, I say the subconscious planets, we're talking about the co-rulers. We're talking about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. These will subconsciously affect you. These will be things that a lot of people won't really understand until they've witnessed you multiple times. These are things that you might not even understand until you reflect upon the concept of these things multiple times. And see, astrology is the best tool, I believe, to reflect on different aspects of yourself. Really, the best. I'm just saying I believe because I'm being modest, but I shouldn't. Honestly, astrology is the best way to reflect on these things. So, like, look, right now I'm talking to y'all on the screen, and I'm not sitting flipping burgers and nothing like that. I was cooking for years, for about 8 years straight. But now I'm sitting here talking to y'all. 25, entrepreneur, baby. You feel me? So that was cringy, wasn't it? But oh well. So basically, when we're talking about Uranus, this influences one's uniqueness and originality, or at least their sense of uniqueness and originality, what they believe to be unique and original outside of themselves, and also how they display their uniqueness through their originality. They'll be original, it's unique, same difference. You know what I'm saying? So let's say there's a whole bunch of painters in a room, but they all got different paintings, right? Well, let's say there's somebody who had a painting of their father, right? Uniquely, it played out in their life that their father died, or their father was huge, played a huge role in their life, or let's say they use like gray and black just to display that it was a horrible past, or they use a whole lot of yellow and orange to display it was a beautiful experience with their father. And then the rest of these guys, their pictures are going to give off a different message that gives them their own originality, right? Somebody might have a picture of their mother because they witnessed that you started making a picture of your father. Or they made a picture of their sister because they thought that you were about to do something with your mother or whatever. That sounded wrong, but you get what I'm saying. The uniqueness is gonna play out through one's manifestation, whatever they manifest, and it might be even some things that they weren't even consciously thinking about that they just put out, like all those abstract paintings and do this like in the painting or whatever. Who knows what was going through the mind of that person? It's unique, it's original. They'll have to explain to you, or you'll have to go look at the description of the painting, right? So on and so forth. The uniqueness and originality is going to be unique to everyone until it's explained, until there's a manifestation put in front of someone, for them to actually understand what's going on, and then they can understand you to a whole different level. They'll probably know what topics not to speak on when you're communicating with them, unless you want to get into that type of conversation. Because I'm that type of guy. I'll be like, oh, bet that's what we're gonna talk about. People don't like it, but well, except for people that really want to get some shit off their chest, so they want a therapeutic point of view on things. they come to me. Uh, feel free to hit me up. I'm gonna charge you. So now, when it comes to Neptune, we're talking about dreams, illusions, and creativity. That is the influence that Neptune gives off. It affects your dreams, right? And then when it comes to illusions, yeah, some of y'all play out certain illusions in your life because of a limited point of view. Or you probably just went through this situation and you only went through that situation. You only play football, you only play basketball, you only play baseball. Make the mistake of thinking that any of these sports are just like the other, or all you have to know is baseball, you can jump to football, you will be disproven because you are in an illusion. And once you live that reality, you'll be like, oh, and then you'll be able to orchestrate your creativity by how you go about it. You might incorporate some baseball tactics into your football plays, or baseball, how you practice baseball, you might incorporate that into how you practice football. And at the end of the day, Neptune is from the 12th house, the subconscious house. So basically taking the feeling of one situation and correlating it with another, or how you resonate with one situation and how you could like make them things work together. You feel me? Somebody walked past my window. I had to see what that was. Keep your head on the swivel. So now we're talking about Neptune, dreams, illusions, creativity. Let's say, for a better example, I'm gonna go more in depth on these things. I need to stop. Okay, my bad. So now let's talk about Pluto. Now, if we're talking about Pluto, we're talking about deep intent and transformation. When you have a deep intention internally, you will do what's necessary to transform your circumstances, or transform your lifestyle, transform whatever. Say that you have a baby and you got like a bed that like just sits straight on the floor. Like it's just straight on the floor, it don't rock, right? And when the bed is still, it makes the baby cry. The baby don't really like ain't feeling it, right? All right, we'll transform the circumstance. You might think, okay, I deeply intend for this baby to stop crying because it's getting on my nerves. I can't focus on my work. I can't sleep at night, right? So you'll install a rocker mechanism underneath the bed. And then when the baby's rocking, you'll come to realize, oh, the baby sleeps more peacefully. The baby doesn't cry. The baby doesn't even ask for food that much or whatever. You're transforming your circumstances when it comes to Pluto. And understand, it's very important. You must pay attention to the Pluto transits. Now that I've spoken on the planets, I got to say this. When you're dealing with Pluto transits, you must pay very close attention to how yours is constructed in accordance to the transit of Pluto, meaning transit Pluto is basically whatever degree, minute, and second and placement that Pluto is in currently that day or in a certain time frame. Now, when we're talking about natal wise Pluto, and this goes for all the planets, but we're talking about Pluto right now. When it comes to natal Pluto, this is the placement of your Pluto in your birth natal chart. Okay, yeah, that content will be great in another video. So boom, just keep that in mind because Pluto returns, they be messing y'all up. Y'all be knowing what's going on. So Mercury too, but it'd be kind of funny. It don't be nothing that's life threatening. Pluto could be life threatening. Now, not knowing that information can mess you up. Knowing it could prepare you. All right. Not trying to use scare tactics, but it's the truth. So now let's talk about the zodiac energy. Now, first and foremost, what you must know is that when it comes to these signs, like, okay, now I said this before. Here we go. So there's three modalities, modes, or qualities. They're going to be called one of these three things. There's three of them, right? And there's four elements, right? Fire, earth, air, water. Okay. So 3 times 4 is 12, right? For all of y'all who don't know multiplication, 3 times 4, right? So you got three, you got three, you got three, and you got three, right? 12. Boom, 12 zodiac signs. That's how you get them. Now let's talk about, I want to put them in order, but it's easier to explain them in accordance to element. So when we're talking about the fire elements, first and foremost comes Aries. Aries is cardinal fire. Okay. Now, this energy, depending on if we're talking about the energy in your houses or we're talking about the energy of a specific planet, how it functions will vary. Okay. Understand that. I'll speak on that more. But now, when it comes to Aries, Aries is cardinal fire. Cardinal modality consists of initiating and creating. That is the influence that modality has. Initiating and creating, right? So to construct something, we're talking about the fire element of Aries. We're talking about how one perceives something and also how, like, basically their point of view, their point of view, a point of view, or a point of view in general, matter of fact. So, a point of view or an expression. So, or an expression. I apologize, y'all. So, when you're dealing with Aries, Aries like to initiate and create a point of view through expression. Okay, that energy is going to do that. If you're talking about a sun sign person, they're going to do that very often. They're going to do that all the time. That's how they're going to get everything across to you. That's how they're going to do everything. You don't believe me? I'll show you. That's the Aries. Okay. Now, brief, I said. So now Taurus, this is fixed Earth. We're talking about the fixed modality, which has to do with having fixation on something. And then when we're talking about Earth element, we're talking about structure, stability, and practicality. So having the fixation on structure, stability, and practicality, right? So basically, let's say you're a germaphobe and things of that nature or whatever. Say what's that word? Because I definitely fit into that category. Um Whatever. So basically let's talk about it's a fixed structure. You want to make sure you're not rocking, you ain't gotta worry about this, that, and the third. Taurus energy is the type of energy that tells you go get a job, tells you that you don't want to work this job no more eventually. You want to have build a business for yourself because that'll build structure for everything you're trying to do, especially if you have a purpose, things of that nature. There's a table with a smaller leg on one end than there is on the rest of them. You put that little, you put something underneath that leg to make sure it stands straight and it's balanced so nothing falls off the table, right? Taurus energy. We're talking about those examples, by the way, not just pertaining to a job or tables. You get the gist though. So now, if we're talking about Gemini, we're talking about mutable air. So mutable modality has to do with adapting and relating to something. Now, when it comes to air, we're talking about thinking, communicating, and processing information. So when you're dealing with a Gemini, you're dealing with adaptive or relatable energy when it comes to thinking, communicating, and processing information. That's why Geminis, they'll talk to you about anything, anything. Their brains are more so sponges more than anybody else's. It's like their mind just stays, their brain stays in that baby state where they say to absorb everything. They won't really be able to focus on things long term, like an Aquarius most of the time. Will really process things in accordance to old information. It's you a whole bunch of new information. That's why they you got a Gemini sun, they're fast. They're fast. Whatever they're thinking about, they're moving toward it. All that type of stuff. They tend to be really fast though. Like you really pay attention, they're really fast. But that's a side note. That's not as important as understanding. Gemini is about adapting and relating to thinking and communicating. Now, let's talk about Cancer, which is the first water sign, and it consists of the cardinal modality. I know what that is. We talked about it. Yeah, y'all. I said I was gonna do fire element first. I fucked it up. Let's continue. So now let's talk about Cancer. This is the first water element. This is cardinal water, right? So when we're dealing with the cardinal energy, as you already know, it's initiating and creating something, right? In accordance to water is feelings, emotions, and intuition. So somewhat like an initial hunch. When you have a hunch about something that you just first encountered or whatever, right? Say you meet somebody new. Say a cancer son meets somebody new, and they just have a feeling, oh, this person, I don't know if they're good for me. I don't know if they're good to be around. Just like what you would think about if you was to allow somebody in your home because they could devastate your home, they could destroy your home. They could literally destroy cancer. Be very careful about who you invite in your home, especially as a cancer. You can devastate your whole life. But talking about the cancer energy, matter of fact, let's relate this to domestic issues. Basically, how you feel you need to deal with the situation. If it's your home, you know how to get the energy you're looking for in your home. Other people might not rock with that. Why? Because when you deal with cardinal energies, it starts off more of a selfish energy because it's initiation of something. Before something can be put out, it has to be initiated. Before there can be a fixation on something, it has to be initiated. Before something can be related to or adapted to, something must be initiated. Okay. Now we're talking about like, water. We're talking about feelings, emotions, intuition. It falls more into like a hunch or like I said, your intuition. You resonate with things like cancers. They resonate with stuff majority of the time. Scorpios resonate with self. But let's move forward. I'm gonna make this very simple now that we got all the elements out the way. Cancer, yeah, like I said, I'm gonna break down all these things individually. Is hurting me not to explain them right off right now, but I know y'all don't want a long ass video. I'm just trying to explain to y'all just the small shit, like just the different aspects of astrology that must be tended to, right? In order at that. Coming some slack. Or maybe I'm just being hard on myself and y'all don't even give a damn. Teach y'all more about astrology y'all ever learned. Now, when we talking about Leo, this is fixed fire, a fixation on a point of view through expression. That's why these are actors. They fixate that energy. How come an Aries can't be an actor and a Leo could be an actor? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the Leo energy plays it out better because they'll remain fixated on one point that they perceive. So they're going to explain everything about that point. Aries, they're going to jump after multiple points to understand it. That's why they can tell you about basically multiple experiences they've been through. Like, oh man, bro, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I just, jumped into it. That's what Aries do. Leo, they remain fixated on it, right? Trying to take out majority of like the stuff like, people will put a certain, they'll tend to how others conceptualize energy over just the basic archetype of a specific type of energy or a type of person. I got dreads. Maybe I'm a gangbanger. Maybe I sell drugs. I'm smoking a black right now. Wish I had some weed, but I took off from work to compile all this information and create multiple formats. I got a bin behind me with hella information. I just don't have enough storage shit to put it in, right? I just put on display basically stuff that I've been fixated on for a long while. That's like my Leo energy playing out, right? I tell you what house and everything, but that'll throw everything off now. But Leos, they have a fixation on a point of view through expression, or they'll even focus on how somebody expresses themselves and have a point of view on it and prefer to be around you and not be around you outside of what you may conceptualize about yourself. Now, Virgo, mutable earth. I told y'all I'd get back around to it. Mutable earth. adapting and relating to structure, stability, and practicality. Boom. Libra, cardinal air, initiating and creating a way of thinking, processing, or communicating information. Scorpio, a fixation on feelings, emotions, and intuition. Fixed water, that's Scorpio. Fixation on water type situations, which is feelings, emotions, and intuition. Sagittarius, beautiful fire, adapting and relating to a point of view expression or a way of how somebody express something and have a point of view on. But from a multifaceted point of view, now it's a multifaceted point of view because of the mutable modality, mode, or quality. Capricorn, cardinal earth, initiating, creating, structure, stability, and practicality. Shout out to my entrepreneurs out there. When we're talking about Aquarius, fixed air, a fixation on thinking, processing, and communicating. Pisces, mutable water, adapting and relating to feelings, emotions, and intuition, right? So we talked about the houses, we talked about the planets, we talked about the energies. In that order, that is basically like houses have the most power. These are the areas of life. We're talking about planets. These are like basically a whole bunch of different type of energetic bodies that we all hold within us, that we all conduct ourselves in accordance to. When it comes to the energies, these are energies that we utilize to carry out these different duties, like your areas of life and your different like parts of yourself, parts of your being, right? You're a multifaceted being. You're not just a human, you're a spirit living out the human experience. We are in a playground right now, right? Like I said, all of this stuff is like pre-existed before us. We're just living out the timeline over and over. That's it. That is all in different bodies at that, because this body is going is temporary. It's going to expire, but your spirit will not. Your spirit will not. Your spirit has spirit through this reality and created an existence for itself. Message, right? Nothing important. Now, another concept that a lot of people don't touch on that I know for a fact needs to be touched on. I'm bringing this to the forefront. I don't know anybody out here who is doing this, right? It is utilizing numerology for the degree, minute, and second of your planetary placements and your house placements. Okay? And the energy zodiac sign will lie right next to it. Like if you look at your sun placement, let's look at mine. My sun is 2 degrees, 44 minutes, 55 seconds Sagittarius, right? My moon is 27 degrees, 43 minutes. If I remember that last one. I forget the seconds. But basically, you focus on these type of things, you jot it out, and like if you understand numerology, it's gonna help. So I'm basically gonna talk to you guys about numerology now. Just you need to understand these numbers that are in your degrees, minutes, and seconds are very important because they're basically it's a way of how you should conduct yourself in accordance to these energies to get the best version of yourself, to become the best version of yourself, what you're intended to do, your purpose in life, your place, your role, your specific role. You don't have to be like Yo Gotti. You ain't gotta be like a designer. You ain't gotta be like Soulja Boy. I probably said a whole bunch of examples that y'all was like, why do I want to be him? I don't know. It's your personal perception. Now, when it comes to number one, we're talking about self, individual, oneness, you know, just basically anything that correlates with that type of energy. Like I said, I'm keeping this brief. We're going up over all of these things. These are like damn near 4 different videos. Um, mm, I'm gonna have to go over the modalities and the elements separately as well. So more so 6. But now that's 1. 2 has to do with like your possessions or a point of reference, right? Let's say this is 1 and you gain another 1, right? Now, in accordance to this 1, they have a different perception of one another. 2 individuals, even if you will, or myself and this black. Hmm, put that down. So, point of reference. That's what two's all about. How you value that thing is a possession, correlates with the Taurus type energy, correlates with the second house. Numerology is all over the board in astrology and life in general. This is kinder knowledge. I assume I don't have to explain too much, but I will in later videos. Now, 3 has to do with familiarity and surroundings. So this is basically like there's 2 points and there's one external to it. Now, if we're both talking about this point, we're both familiar with it. We're both familiar with that. Period, point blank. That's it. We're talking about 4. This is basically how we resonate with these type of things. Now, let's say there's 2 of us, right? Now, we both talk about this, that, and the third, this, that, and the third. If we're not ignorant, we understand we don't know everything in the world. Now, we're speaking on this point. Now, that point holds importance to us. How much does it hold importance to everybody else? Well, let's think about how it makes us feel, which is boom. This is where the value within that point comes into play. Now, these 2 individuals are going to think about this point and think about all the different aspects of what it does for us as individuals, right? We're going to resonate with it in that way. Like, let's say there's somebody who came up and it was like, oh, we's bad because the parents told me this is bad, whoop, 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 in their home, their family. Or family, resonation, you know, Cancer, support sign of the zodiac, boom, that type of stuff. Home, 4th house, what? We get some correlation here. We're understanding that basically the value that 2 more individuals could find in a certain thing could make us like more so resonate with that thing, resonate with this person, place, or thing within this reality. Now we're talking about 5. We're talking about awareness, right? So basically, once we resonate with all these things, we're gonna understand. Oh, okay, it's used for this. It can be utilized for that. It can be utilized for that, right? We all even took like a certain, like we take a cupboard or something like that, and you'll, well, what is it, the cup holder, you put it on the desk, you put your cup on it so it don't wet up the desk or whatever, the condensation don't get to the desk, right? So you're gonna be like, okay, I could use that to even hold up that wobbly ass table. Put a couple of those under there, level out the table, right? That's one use. Another use, we're aware of the fact that we could put a cup on that thing and stop the condensation from getting to the table, right? Use a cupboard, I could use it like a fucking like a frisbee. Even though it's not gonna come back to me, it's gonna hit somebody upside the head or whatever I'm trying to hit. Who knows? There's multiple uses for that. We're aware. We all know what like that little cup thing is. I can't remember the name of it honestly, but whatever. 6th house. We're talking about routines and stuff. You've heard all this stuff before, house of routine, all of that. It correlates with the houses, right? So 6, routine. Why is 6 routine? Well, let's say that we have 3 familiarity. We have 3 familiarity. You're familiar with this, you're familiar with that. These familiarities come together. They come to a common point of understanding what works in general, universally, for everybody. They're going to build a routine around these certain things like businesses. They all basically do the same thing when it comes to the construct of the beginning of their business. They're going to think about, okay, so we're all familiar with the fact that we're all trying to make money here. We most likely have to create a name for ourselves for people to have a reference to us. We all have to figure out what what really helps this out. Like we think about resonation, awareness, and then a routine comes in of what you're aware of. So you're gonna form a routine around the awareness that you've accumulated, right? Say for example, if I keep smoking these blacks like crazy, it's gonna get to a point where I'm having headaches like crazy. If I keep drinking this beer like crazy, I'm gonna have who knows what's gonna happen. Liver start acting up, stuff of that nature. So I'm gonna manage my routine when it comes to that type of stuff. I do it 30% of the time instead of 70, right? That type of stuff. Very simple. Seventh house. This is like relationship, right? So familiarity, familiarity. So if you're familiar with what you need, that person's familiar with what you need, then y'all can form a relationship once y'all do that for each other, vice versa. Now there's two familiarities coming together, understand the self with one another, right? And then over time, this brings us to eight. Eight is about time. Turn it sideways, infinity symbol. Over time, we're going to understand these familiarities a lot better, and we're going to make our relationship flourish more, right? That's eight. We're talking about nine. This is enlightenment. The more you learn over time, you're going to become more enlightened of an individual. You'll start to learn things about them that they wouldn't have realized unless they coexisted with you, unless they encountered you, right? You'll become enlightened. A certain person, like, say they weren't allergic to something before, but now when they eat, let's say they weren't lactose intolerant before, and then they start drinking normal milk, and all of a sudden they got some type of deficiency where they farting all over the place, got stomach cramps, all that type of stuff. You'll stick sick to the stomach. You'll come to realize, aka real eyes, enlighten yourself. You heard the real eyes by Tupac. Real eyes, realize, real lies. Tupac's fucking genius. But let's go deeper. Basically, just well, let's get more ground level. We're gonna go deep in the other videos. Basically, you're becoming enlightened over time. You have to spend time with something if you want to become enlightened. When you come to astrology, I thought everything that y'all thought, and then I connected with it. I became familiar with the science that everybody else made familiar, put out for a long time, and then I came to realize the familiarity of what it took for me to like conduct that type of stuff into my life, how I could incorporate that type of stuff into my life. It's a better word. I should have wrote this out. I'm becoming familiar with that as well. Um, I got all these documents all over the place. And I'm not looking at them. I'm a Sag. I'm channeling to my nine energy. That's myself up with. I be overthinking. My Mercury is 15 degrees Sagittarius. We'll get into all of that. But then let's say we get in the 10. So this is one. Yeah, here goes one again with zero opportunity. One with opportunity. You become one with opportunity, something's placed in front of you. Like I got tarot cards right here. I could become a tarot card reader. The opportunity's right there. I got a camera, I got internet connection, things of that nature. I got different programs on this computer that can help me up my quality for my videos. Opportunity. Like I got a pencil so I can write. I have the opportunity to write. A lot of simple things, right? Say I know a whole bunch of different people in the business world who are able to bring different variables to my business for me to for me to form a business in the first place. That's being one with opportunity. And see, these are the basic numbers. Basically, it was 0 through 9. Zero is opportunity. You got opportunity. Life is an opportunity. We're in a portal. The zero is a portal. You're in an opportunity as we speak, the opportunity of life. If your parents never did the do, you wouldn't be here because you wouldn't have the opportunity. All right, so basically that's the numbers and all of that. How the hell have I been in marketing all this time and I don't know how to close out a video? Beats me. I'm very genuine at the end of the day. I can't wait to be able to speak with y'all about a lot more. Just but first I have to break down these basics so y'all won't know what I'm talking about. So this is a video to display the science of astrology. These are all the things that you really need to know when it comes to astrology. There's also aspects. Let's talk about that real quick. There's 5 basic aspects. We have the conjunction, we have the sextile, we have the square, we have the trine, and the opposition. Now we're talking about aspects in astrology, like you type up aspects space astrology on Google, you understand if you just type up aspects, it's not gonna pop up, y'all. So, but here I go. You can understand from this video briefly. So we're talking about sextiles. No, conjunctions. Conjunction. This is when two or more planets are within the same energy, right? Yeah. And then, yeah, that's really the only way. The two or more planets are in the same energy. Basically, they're just a lot alike. There's barely anything that they could really be diverse about. They're just going to be in that same place when it comes to whatever planet we're talking about at hand, or we're talking about it's in a certain house, and say two planets are in the same house, they conjunct each other to a certain extent, but not exactly the same as when it comes to the planets, which is why this stuff is very important to understand the nitty gritty of it. If you really want to claim you understand astrology, which is why I'm going to be making multiple videos on this stuff before I start just putting myself out there to talk with other individuals, because I need them to have a curriculum to understand. I need us to be in a conjunction of understanding when we hold these conversations. Boom. They're in the same place. Conjunction. Boom. Sextile, easygoing relationship. It's the relationship between two different planets, or a relationship between like one of your planets and somebody else's planets. Even with a conjunction, it could be a conjunction between your planet and somebody else's planet, right? Goes vice versa. Either we're talking about your personal birth natal chart, or we're talking about a symmetry read, or a compatibility read, which is the same thing as symmetry, right? So sextile, very easygoing relationship, not much to debate about. We get straight to the point. We'll be like, oh yeah, I understand that, or I didn't know exactly that, but it makes sense in accordance to everything I've accumulated so far. That type of stuff. Sextile. We're talking about a square. This is a challenging relationship. Now, also, I'm gonna go into that more. But when it comes to like a square, it's a challenging relationship where maybe y'all have some basic understanding, but it's kind of off, like to the point where we must discuss like three or more topics at least to get to a point of understanding, or we have to speak on something for a longer period of time for you to understand. A lot of you have a square relationship with the understanding of astrology. Yeah, I'm throwing slugs, but it's okay. Um, Now we're talking about a trine. Now this is a gift. This is a gifted relationship, which usually consists of two of the same element. Majority of the time, it consists of two of the same element. Or that would confuse y'all. Yeah, two of the same element. Like say, one planet's an Earth, the other planet's an Earth sign, both of them Earth signs. They're gonna have a trine type relationship. We're talking about two planets in fire, trine relationship. Two planets in water, trine relationship. Two planets in air, trine relationship. Right? Or whatever amount of planets, they're all going to trine one another if they're the same element, unless it's the exact same sign, which is of the same element. If it's the exact same sign, that's conjunction. But it also depends on the degrees, which we must go deeper into. So, y'all, this video is just for the sake of vocabulary. All right, keep that in mind. It's brief vocabulary. Astrology vocabulary is what our title is. Now, trine is like a gift, a gift of uh, understanding, resonating, thinking, and communicating. It depends on the planetary placement, y'all. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto. It depends. It varies. Same with all the rest of it. Now, when it comes to an opposition, this is where two planetary placements are at odds. Like there's barely an understanding there, but you can learn from your opposites. Opposites do attract. That's very true. Like two opposite polarities of a magnet, they attract one another. Two of the same. What do I need from you? Like we do the same shit. It's conjunction. Whatever. If I want to have a cool conversation, I want to see if somebody understands me. If I'm really tripping, I'm going to talk to my conjunction buddy. Now, if I have an opposition, that must mean I'm trying to learn something that's way outside of myself. So I'm going to talk to my opposition buddy. Period. Now, let's see, I might have touched on all the vocabulary you really need so far for astrology. But let's go over some honorable mentions like fixed stars. That's important because these basically these aren't planets, but they are fixed points in the universe that hold the influence. Okay, even like asteroids and stuff like that, they hold the influence. If they're within our reality, they affect us. If you ever hear about like nakshatras or lunar mansions, which is one and the same thing, this is basically how the moon travels within the zodiac or between the constellations, things of that nature. When we're talking about astrology, we're usually talking about in accordance to how the sun moves, and we do it off that frame, that template of time, or that template of placement, whatever you wish to call it, within those two terms. Don't get it confused. Don't change it up. You'll relate a message and fuck it up. So just understand, it's a terminology video. All right. The rest of the videos are coming very soon, most likely right after this one, because I'm on a roll. And I can't wait to get into that stuff. It's gonna be a lot easier. Me explaining, just giving y'all terminology. I feel like I'm barely giving y'all anything. Um, yeah, fixed stars is important. Understanding that lunar mansions and nakshatras are also important. Very popular in Hindu culture. We also used to tell time in accordance to the moon. So if you guys ever heard that we've like time basically wait, that we've started that we don't age. That's what they say. That we don't age as old as we can because of unhealthy habits and things of that nature. And that's not true. Like it's partially true in accordance to the fact like those who live in America, we're eating very unhealthy, we're eating processed foods, even if we do think what we're eating is healthy. But at the end of the day, the culprit of it all is the fact that we switched from telling time by the moon from telling time by the sun. So basically we have less time in our actually no, we have more time. I might be getting us confused, but use your common sense, y'all. The sun, it it will go through a sign. It'll take a month to go through one sign. It takes the moon two and one third of a day to get through one sign. Meaning that yeah, time accelerated a lot faster back in the day in accordance to how we conceptualized it when we told time in accordance to the moon, right? There's a whole bunch of hidden information just like that, or that's like just not plain sight for everybody to see that we all need to just tune into, and it's gonna help us out. But first and foremost, that was just a little bonus on there. I believe I covered everything. If not, I'm gonna be hitting y'all with another video. But there you go. This is your terminology video. So all you really need to know if you want to get into just the gist of understanding astrology, focus on these points. If you don't understand all of these points, then that means I failed you first and foremost. And also, you don't know astrology, period, still. But you can do your own research. There's multiple sites out there. Just type up astrology or how to learn astrology. It's all out there. But just come back to these videos. I'm not trying to hold y'all captive, but as this channel starts to thrive more and build more, the more time that I have to put into it, you're gonna learn a lot. Okay, and I'm also gonna be holding a lot of discussions with different content creators who touch on these points too. 9 times out of 10, you guys have heard of. Matter of fact, y'all have. Most of y'all have. But if you're actually looking at this video, I assume that you have. I want to assume that. I have great hopes for you guys and Jason the Chiron here. I'll even go over why my name is Jason the Chiron. We'll go over that. That's another video. So we're looking at about 7 or 8 videos now. About 9, just based off this one video. So I got a lot of work to do. Got a lot of love for you guys, and I need y'all to understand this stuff, okay? So that's that. Hopefully, I didn't make this video too long. Peace. Still pressing the button.